Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Angie Norris and this is my YouTube channel 60 and a Senior. And for the most part on this channel, we talk about bookish things. I do book reviews. I talk about my most anticipated new releases. And I play a game each month. I either do the jar prompt or I play the reader roulette card game to determine what my upcoming TBR list is each month. And I haven't done that for January yet, but what I'm gonna do right now, I did this video or this type of video last year at the end of 2024. And I thought it was fun. I saw some other booktubers doing it, so I'm gonna do it again this year. And what we're gonna do is I have a lot of books on this bookshelf that I have not read. They are potentials for TBRs, and the bookshelf is getting crowded. So the top up here, I know you really can't see everything, but on this side is romance category. I love good contemporary women's fiction, especially fiction that's set in the South because I am Southern, so Southern women's fiction. And then I do have a few fantasy, dystopian. I have some nonfiction. I have some horror. I do love a good horror book. And the bottom two shelves are primarily chocked full of historical fiction and mystery thrillers because that is my top two favorite genres. So what I did was I keep a running list of all the books on my shelf, and I write down, keep up with a chart. Yeah, I have a list of what the Goodreads rating was. So I went through and chose a few from each genre that had the lowest Goodreads rating. And what I'm going to do is I chose 10 and we're going to read a chapter. This is a try a chapter video. I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to read a chapter and I'm going to come back and decide whether that book is going to remain on my TBR shelf for 2026 or whether it's going to go in my PangoBooks store for sale and we're just going to give it up. And I'll also tell you how long it's been on my bookshelf. So the first one is The Mermaid Chair by Sue Monk Kidd, and let me find it. Okay, this book actually had a prologue that was 3 pages, and then chapter 1 was 7 pages. So I'm intrigued. This is different from the other 2 books of hers that I've read. This is actually a more modern book, so I can see why maybe it's classified as a romance, although I can't really tell just from the first chapter. But it's set in 1988, and it follows the life of a woman named Jessie. That's really all I know so far. And in the prologue, she says that in 1988, she fell in love with a monk, with a Benedictine monk. And her life, she lives in South Carolina. And so that kind of intrigued me. And she talks about how some people call it that she had a fall from grace, and she says, I didn't fall, I dove. So it sounds like from the first chapter that she is in the middle of an empty nest syndrome. She just took her daughter to college in the fall of 1987. And the book starts out in February of 1988. And so she talks about her husband. Her husband's a psychiatrist and how, I guess, their marriage is in a rut, so to speak. So it intrigues me. I'm trying to decide if it intrigues me enough to leave it on the list. For right now, it's going to stay. But my goal is in this video to get rid of at least 5 books. So for now, it's going to stay. It might not make the final cut though. All right, book number 2 is a mystery by Paula Hawkins. It's entitled A Slow Fire Burning. Okay, I can't remember where I got this book. I think I bought it off of Whatnot. I've had this book since July of 2024. Actually, I think I won this book on in a giveaway on Whatnot. If you're not familiar with Whatnot, it's an app where people do live auctions, and I followed a lot of book auctions and things like that. So I actually think I won this book. So let's read what the inside front cover says about it. Paula Hawkins is the author of The Girl on the Train, if you've read that one. I have not, so I've not read anything by Paula Hawkins. It says, when a young man is found gruesomely murdered on a London houseboat, it triggers questions about 3 women who knew him. Oh, you know what? I swear to you, I did this book last year in the end of the year video. I did, and I've already read a chapter of it, I'm pretty sure. And I was intrigued enough to keep it. I think. Yes, I was. But I'm going to have to read it again because I don't remember. But let me read. I'm sorry I stopped in the middle of that. It just sounded too familiar when it talked about houseboat and 3 women. When a young man is found gruesomely murdered on a London houseboat, it triggers questions about 3 women who knew him. Laura is the troubled one-night stand last seen in the victim's home. Carla is his grief-stricken aunt, already mourning the recent death of yet another family member. And Miriam is the nosy neighbor, clearly keeping secrets from the police. 3 women with separate connections to the victim. 3 women who are, for different reasons, simmering with resentment. Who are, whether they know it or not, burning to right the wrongs done to them. When it comes to revenge, even good people might be capable of terrible deeds. How far might any one of them go to find peace? How long can secrets smolder before they explode into flame? A slow fire burning. All right, let me read the first chapter again to see if it brings anything back to memory and whether or not we're going to keep it. This one actually has a 3.5-star rating on Goodreads, which is not that great to me, but hang tight. Okay. So I did read this one. I did read a chapter of this one last year on last year's video, and it did make the cut, but it's not going to make the cut this year. It is not grabbing me to say, hey, pull this off your shelf and read it. It's just not. So this one's going to go in the Pango store in case you're interested. All right, book number 3 is 5 Total Strangers by Natalie Richards. And that is a mystery thriller, I think. So hold on just a second. Okay, I've not had this book that long. I've only had it since September. It was actually gifted to me. So here's what the back of the book says. She thought being stranded was the worst thing that could happen. She was wrong. Mira needs to get home for the holidays, badly. But when an incoming blizzard results in a canceled connection, it looks like Mira might get stuck at the Philadelphia airport indefinitely. And then Harper, Mira's glamorous seatmate from her initial flight, comes to the rescue. Harper and her 3 friends are renting a car, and they can drop Mira off on the way home. But as their trip begins, Mira discovers her fellow travelers aren't friends like she thought. They're total strangers, and every one of them seems to be hiding something dangerous. Soon, Mira is in a panic. The roads have gone from slippery to terrifying. People's belongings are mysteriously disappearing, and someone in the car is clearly lying. and Mira begins to suspect that one of them is sabotaging this trip. If she wants to make it home alive, she'll need to uncover the truth about these strangers before this nightmare drive turns fatal. All right, so evidently this Natalie Richards has written these other books that I've not read that I'm aware of. I've never read this author. So I'm going to read a chapter and come back and tell you what I think. Oh, before I do that, The Total Strangers, I've owned it since September, and on Goodreads, it only has a 3.30 rating. So, okay, I have read a chapter, and basically the first chapter is, it was fairly long for a first chapter, 14 pages. Well, 14 pages. I'm going to put it on the discard pile and list it on my PangoBooks. So it didn't really, the writing didn't grab me. It wasn't like, oh, I got to read the next chapter like right now. No. So I think it's going to go in the discard pile for now. Okay. Book number 4 is The Wilder Women by Ruth Emmy Lang. Let me find that one. Okay, I believe this is what it looks like. The Wilder Women by Ruth Emmy Lang. It is a book of the month. My list says that I've had this book since March of 25. I think I bought it from a seller off Whatnot at their recommendation. So I'm trying to remember if it's a historical fiction or what. But anyway, let me read you what the inside cover says. 5 years ago, Nora Wilder disappeared. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that. I had to get a swallow of water. 5 years ago, Nora Wilder disappeared. The older of her 2 daughters, Zadie, should have seen it coming because she can literally see things coming. But not even her psychic abilities were able to prevent their mother from vanishing one morning. Zadie's estranged younger sister, Finn, can't see into the future, but she has an uncannily good memory. So good that she remembers not only her own memories, but the echoes of memories other people have left behind. On the afternoon of her graduation party, Finn is seized by an echo more powerful than anything she's experienced before. A woman singing a song she recognizes, a song about a bird. When Finn wakes up alone in an aviary with no idea of how she got there, she realizes who the memory belongs to, Nora. Now it's up to Finn to convince her sister that not only is their mom still out there, but that she wants to be found. Against Zadie's better judgment, she and Finn hit the highway, using Finn's echoes to retrace Nora's footsteps and uncover the answer to the question that has been haunting them for years. Why did she leave? But the more time Finn spends in their mother's past, the harder it is for her to return to the present, to return to herself. As Zadie feels her sister start to slip away, she will have to decide to what lengths she is willing to go to find their mother, knowing that if she chooses wrong, she could lose them both for good. So it sounds like it's a story about 2 sisters and a mother that they're searching for. So let me read a chapter. Okay, I have read, this book had a short prologue and then the first chapter. So I read a total of 19 pages. And I like it. It has intrigued me enough that I'm going to keep it on the TBR list for now. So I've got 2 that are off the list and 2 that are still on. Let's see what book number 5 is, and I have it down as Among Friends by Hal Ebbett. So let me get it. Okay, this is what the book looks like. I actually purchased this book. It was a book of the month for September, I think. Yes. So, no. among friends, July. It was a book of the month for July. And I chose it as my book of the month, so I must have been intrigued by the description, which I'm getting ready to read you. But Goodreads has it rated at 3.21. So let me read you what the inside front cover says. It's an autumn weekend at a comfortable New York country house where two families have gathered to mark the host's 52nd birthday. Together, the group forms an enviable portrait of middle age. The wives and husbands have been friends for over 30 years. Their teenage daughters have grown up together, and the dinners, games, and rituals forming their days reflect the rich bonds between them. This weekend, however, something is different. An unforeseen curdling of envy and resentment will erupt in an unspeakable act, with the aftermath exposing treacherous fault lines on which they have long dwelt. Written with hypnotic elegance and molten precision, and announcing the arrival of a major literary talent, Hal Ebbott's Among Friends examines betrayal within the sanctuary of a defining relationship, as well as questions of class, friendship, marriage, power, and the things we tell ourselves to preserve our finely made worlds. And I think one of the reasons that it intrigued me is I just turned 60. So it sounds like the characters, or the primary characters in the book, are in their 50s, middle-aged. So I thought, oh, finally a book with some older main characters. So I'm going to read a chapter and I'll come right back. Okay, I read a chapter. It actually had a little bit of a prologue as well. And the first chapter was 11 pages. And I'm not in love with it. So evidently this was this author's premiere novel, according to the description that I read. And I was intrigued, as I said before, because it was about people who were middle-aged and yada, yada, yada. The writing seems a little clunky to me. So I'm on the fence about this one. I would like to keep reading to maybe see where the storyline goes, but it didn't just grab me. So I got 2 in that pile and 2 in this pile. I'm going to make an iffy pile right here, and we'll come back to that one at the end. That was book number 5. Book number 6 is Northern Spy. We're halfway done. Okay, here it is, Northern Spy by Flynn Berry. This book I have only had since September. This was a Reese's Book Club book. Someone gifted this book to me, and I believe it's a mystery suspense. So let me see what the back of the book says. A producer at the BBC and mother to a new baby, Tessa is at work in Belfast one day when the news of another IRA raid comes on the air. Watching footage from the scene, Tessa is shocked by what she sees. Her sister, Marion, pulling a black ski mask over her face. It can't be right. The sisters have always opposed the violence enacted in the name of uniting Ireland, haven't they? When the truth about Marion comes to light, Tessa is faced with impossible choices that will test the limits of her ideals and the bonds of her family. Walking an increasingly perilous road, she wants nothing more than to protect the one person she loves more fiercely than her sister, her infant son. Riveting, atmospheric, and exquisitely written, Northern Spy is at once a heart-pounding story of a brilliantly imagined near-future IRA, a moving portrait of sister and motherhood, and a timely evocation of life in a deeply divided society. So I misspoke. This is on the shelf, but it was kind of to the right. So this is not mystery. This is a historical fiction. I love historical fiction. I'm going to read a chapter. It was on Reese's Book Club. However, it has a Goodreads rating of 3.69, which is not terrible, but it was under 4. So let me read it. Okay, I'm back. I actually read 2 chapters because the first chapter was so short. You only got introduced to one character. You didn't get introduced to her sister at all. So if I hadn't read the back of the book, I really would not know what was going on. And I still don't know completely, but I can tell you that I am a huge historical fiction fan. I have never read anything specifically about the Ireland conflict. And so this does interest me. I've never read anything by this author. It says she's the author of Under the Hera. I've never read that either, but I do like the writing so far. And it's a paperback, so for now, I'm going to leave this one on the list. So it's still on the TBR. Okay, the next book, which is book number 7, is Magic Time by Doug Marlette. So let me find that one. Okay, I remember buying this book. I have not had this book very long. I just bought it in November. And I bought it at a thrift store. And I bought it because it's set in the South. And I liked the description on the inside cover. So let me read that to you. That spellbinding new novel, Magic Time, this one, follows a New York City newspaper columnist, Carter Ransom, as he returns home to Mississippi after an emotional breakdown to face a formidable father he has disappointed and a traumatic past he has long repressed. That past is now thrust back into the news by the reopening of a 25-year-old civil rights murder case, a church bombing that took Carter's first love. Carter's father, the local judge, had presided over the original trial of the Klansman accused of murder. But now there's evidence that the trial was flawed, even fixed, and the case's reopening strikes at Carter's very identity, threatening to shatter the entire Ransom family. Moving between New York City and the New South of the early 1990s, with flashbacks to Mississippi's cataclysmic Freedom Summer of 1964, Magic Time is at once a powerful love story, a courtroom drama, and a vivid and unsentimental portrait of a generation whose coming of age coincided with one of the most sensational turning points in American history, the Civil Rights Revolution. So it's set in the South, in Mississippi, it seems. So it was up on my top shelf, which meant Southern fiction. So I'm going to read a chapter of it. It sounds intriguing, and I'll be back. Okay. I love it. I am hooked from the beginning. I think it was 8 or 9 pages, but I am hooked. I was hooked like 2 pages in. I have never read this author, but his writing style is incredible. And there's a lot of things mentioned about the South already, like, you know, peanuts and nabs and a Coca-Cola. And if you're from the South, those things resonate with you. So yes, Southern fiction. It's a pretty chunky book. 480 pages. It had a 3.94 on Goodreads, which is just under 4. And so this one is definitely staying on the TBR. Okay, let's see what's next. Next is a nonfiction. It's entitled Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly, I think. Let me get it. Yes, Margot Lee Shetterly. This book was recommended to me. It is about, it says, the American dream and the untold story of the Black women mathematicians who helped in the space race. So I'm going to read a chapter. It has a 3.80 rating on Goodreads, and I bought this book in August, so I haven't had it that long, but let me read a chapter and let's see what I think about it. Okay, it's staying on the list too. So right now, I have 5 that are still staying on the list, and 3, well, 2 for sure, going to go on the Pango bookstore, and 1 possibility. So I've got 2 more to read a chapter. And that, oh, and Hidden Figures, by the way, is rated 3.80 on the Goodreads. But it is a nonfiction, but I do like to read a nonfiction. So I like it enough that I want to keep it on my TBR. Okay, the next one, number 9, is a dystopian. It's entitled Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. And I have a fellow book friend of mine that absolutely loved this book so much that she has a tattoo about this book on her arm. It is rated 3.97 on Goodreads, and I've had this book since March of 2025. It's right here. So let me read you a little bit about it. It's a dystopian. 60 years after its original publication, Ray Bradbury's internationally acclaimed novel Fahrenheit 451 stands as a classic of world literature set in a bleak dystopian future. Today, its message has grown more relevant than ever before. Guy Montag, I guess, is a fireman. His job is to destroy the most illegal of commodities, the printed book, along with the houses in which they are hidden. Montag never questions the destruction and ruin his actions produce, returning each day to his bland life and wife, Mildred, who spends all day with her television family. But when he meets an eccentric young neighbor, Clarice, who introduces him to a past where people didn't live in fear, and to a present where one sees the world through the ideas in books instead of the mindless chatter of television, Montag begins to question everything he has ever known. So let me read a chapter and see if it's going to stay on the TBR list. I'll be back. Okay, I am back. I think I'm going to leave it on the list, and that doesn't help me, I know. It doesn't reduce any of my books, but I think I'm going to leave it. All right, the last one that we're going to read a chapter of, unless I add more, is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I'll be right back. I was trying to remember what the genre of this is. I think it's got a little bit of a fantasy element to it. It says, we all have regrets, choices we could have made differently, paths we didn't take, other lives we might have led, but what if you were given a chance to fix your past? Enter the Midnight Library. Nora's life has been going from bad to worse. Then at the stroke of midnight on her last day on Earth, she finds herself transported to the Midnight Library, where each book contains an alternate life, a possible world in which she made different choices. She is given what seems like the ultimate opportunity, a chance to undo her regrets and try out each of the other lives she might have lived. But things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: with infinite choices, what is the best way to live? Now, I think this book was all over Book Talk and BookTube. It says it's a Good Morning America book club, and I've had this book since May. I think someone gifted it to me, and it has a 3.98, so just right there at a 4 rating, a 4.0 rating. So let me read a chapter. I'll be back. Okay, I read a chapter of this one, and although I think it may end up being okay, it did not grab me. I mean, it really didn't. So it's going to go in the to be sold on PangoBooks pile. So let me recap of what I have in the stack to save and see if we can move one more to the PangoBooks. That would be 5 and 5, but I don't know. So hold on. So far we're going, I know we were on the fence about this one, but I'm going to move it. And sometimes when I choose these book of the month ones, I feel guilty about not reading them or ditching them because I paid good money for them. But I have so many on my shelf that I have to get through. I have to just let some of them go. And this one, really, the writing did not grab me. Even though the storyline intrigued me, I'm gonna unhaul it. I'm gonna put it on Pango. So that is Among Friends by Hal Ebbett. I'm gonna unhaul this one, The Midnight Library, 5 Total Strangers, and A Slow Fire Burning. That's for sure for right now. So let's go back through the ones that I said I wanted to keep. And we had The Mermaid Chair. We had The Wilder Women. We had Northern Spy, Magic Time, Hidden Figures, and Fahrenheit 451. Just right off the bat, I know I'm going to keep these two. Even though this one, I just feel like I need to read this one because it's a classic, it's dystopian, and I feel like if I don't read it, I'll not be happy about that. So I'm going to keep this one, and I'm going to keep the nonfiction one. So they're going back on the shelf. So let's see. I really was intrigued with this one. The Wilder Women. I thought it was good. Let's see. Let's look at these ratings again. The Mermaid Chair was 3.22. I did like the beginning of it. But it's the lowest rating, I think. Northern Spy was a 3.69. The Wilder Women was a 3.49. And Magic Time was 3.94. So I think I'm going to unhaul The Mermaid Chair. It's the lowest rating, and that will leave me 5 on the TBR and 5 that I've unhauled, and I feel good about that I got rid of 5, or that I'm going to get rid of 5 books. I know that sounds terrible, but I have so many on my TBR list. So drop me a comment and let me know which ones you would have kept and which ones you would have unhauled. Drop me a comment and let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought about them, what your rating was. And if you're not subscribing to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. I know this one was a little long, but we did get through 10 books. So that is good news for me. So thank y'all for watching. If you've watched all the way to the end, I really do appreciate it. And I really wish you would engage with me in the comments below. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.